Hey, how's it going, everybody? Sarasota Tim, coming to you from Sarasota, Florida, in the Bradenton area. And many of you know me from my Social Security videos I made a couple of years ago that received millions of views. And since then, many of you have decided to stay with me and watch my other types of videos that I make regarding just living life. But a couple of years ago, after I started collecting my Social Security at 62, I am now approaching the age of 67. This is my full retirement age. I am still collecting Social Security, obviously, for the rest of my life, and I'm drawing a small income as a subsidy to support myself through YouTube because my channel is monetized and only due to the Social Security videos that I made. When I made the Social Security videos, pause that for 1 second. Let's have a sip of the best cup of coffee I ever had in my life. Oh yeah, that's slurpable. That's good. But a couple of years ago when I made Social Security videos, I wanted to share with the world how I thought it was the best thing to do to collect it as soon as you could, irregardless of Medicare starting at 65, irregardless if you still had a job, irregardless of anything except for one reason and one reason only. I've always said that you should not collect Social Security at 62, and that's one reason only. And that is if you're making so much money and you love your prison job, then you keep doing you. But if you're approaching the age of 62, I implore you, if you're a few years away or 10 years away or next year, to do everything you can to get rid of any debt that you have. Because obviously when you collect Social Security, it isn't like making 150 grand a year. Now, if you're making 150 grand a year, like most people are not, then you may want to just keep on working, especially if you love that prison job. I call all jobs a prison job because think about it. You have to be there at a certain time. You go to lunch and then they want you back at a certain time. Then they release you and let you go home and have dinner and get a good night's sleep. And the next morning at a certain time, you got to have your ass back there. So it's kind of like a prison. But if you love it, you're the manager or you're the owner or you just like what you do and you're making tons of money, well, hey. But most people, you know, they want to get out of working. They want to get retired. They don't want to hurry up in age, but they want to start living a free life. They've worked their whole lives. They paid taxes. They paid into the Social Security. And in my opinion, retirement age should be 55 years old because you're already way, way, way past your halfway point in your life. Not most people don't live to be 110 years old. So you've already got less than half of your life. So to collect Social Security at 62, with the average age being 75 for a male in the U.S., that only gives you, you know, a dozen or so years on average left of your life. And that flies by when you get to be a little older. So I'm here to make another video today to implore and to encourage people to absolutely consider that. Because when I made the videos a couple of years ago, the algorithm picked up the video. A lot of people were coming out of the pandemic and they started searching on the internet about when they should, if they should, at what age. And there was my video. And so it was a pretty good video. Several of them I made. And like I said, they got millions of views. And people started sharing them and comments were coming in. I never looked at it that way. Thank you so much for sharing this, and on and on. Well, with all those millions of views also came some pushback. And guess who it was from? It was from bankers, investors, and people that wanted you to continue to work and to pay them to have them help you with investments and stuff because they get paid whether you make money or lose money. So the last thing they wanted to hear is you're cashing out. And then I had a lot of people that have brainwashed into believing that if you take your Social Security at 62 years old, that you get a 30% reduction. Even Social Security uses that language and says if you take it at 62, which you can, you get a reduced amount. But I made it very clear and made several videos talking about it, that it is not a reduced amount, that is actually the most amount. Because to get to the break-even point of collecting enough checks later in your life, you would be almost 80 years old or older before you ever would pass the break-even point by waiting to get a larger Social Security check 4 or 5 or 6 years later that some people advocated, and that you could just keep on working your prison job, keep on aging, keep on waiting for health issues to come up in your life, which is like a car. The more mileage you get on it, the more likely things are going to start happening. And the same way is for your own health. And wouldn't you rather be retired and be vibrant and healthy and able to do all the things you wanted to do about one day of retiring? Everybody thinks about retiring. Nobody works and wants to work till they're dead, die at the job. They want to get to a point where they have savings, assets, Social Security, pensions. They want all this thing that they're working towards to help them leave the workforce and start living a life where they can travel, sit on their duff, plant a garden, read a book, sit on the beach, go visit the grandchildren, whatever it is your goals are, your bucket list is that you want to do. And you'll find that that list will grow when you have the freedom to do things. I mean, I have so many options every day, I don't know which one to do. Sometimes I do nothing and I'm happy about that, but I don't like wasting time. So the reason for this video is this is 2025. Our country is 250 years old, and people on Social Security that when they saw those videos, they all wanted to get it at 62. They all changed their mind. A lot of people, thousands and thousands, tens of thousands, maybe millions, because here's the latest statistic. Since I made those videos and had some pushback from people that said don't take advice from a guy that doesn't know what he's talking about, when in fact it turns out that I did, because I presented evidence. All they had was some more brainwashing scam tactics to keep you in the workforce continuing to pay taxes. Folks, did you know $1 today isn't worth more tomorrow? Dollars don't grow. What would you like to have? $500 25 years ago or $500 today? What would you rather have? Which one has more value? So if you just think about it, if you sit and wait 5 more years of your life, your best years, your final chapter of your life, your long chapter, hopefully you can live a long, long life. But with the average age being only 75 years old, as a male in the United States, and you start collecting at Social Security at 62, you've got a short time there. But you will collect over $100,000 if you get the average Social Security check for the first 5 years that others decided to keep working and keep stressing and keep going to a job and paying gas for a car and all the other things that it takes to go to a job. And, working isn't for free. You get a paycheck, but then you take out taxes, and then you take out your gas money, clothing, lunch money, and everything else. And then mainly time. You're giving your time, your best months, weeks, and years of your life to some company to draw a check when you could be drawing that amount of money less that they're paying you for free by collecting your Social Security. For example, I get $1,800 a month now. It's grown a little bit since I started collecting with the cost of living. Now, the cost of living adjustment every year never really amounts to anything worth mentioning. It hasn't for 40 years. It really is a joke. However, we did get a big bump of over 8% about 3 years ago, and it was well deserved. They should be at least that much every year, in my opinion, just like I think we should have a retirement at 55. So anyway, at 62, if you wait till you're 63, you get a little bit more money, right? But people talk about what you get each year. and they talk about this 30% reduction. Did you know you only get 5% more from 62 to 63? And hang on, I've got the numbers right here. I wrote them down. Um, this is what you get by waiting from 62 to 65, or 67 actually, I'm going to talk about. But another main reason I'm making this video today is because there was an article shared with me from one of my subscribers saying how more people than ever in history are taking their Social Security now at earlier age rather than full retirement, because they figured out that the break-even point is so late in their life that they never see any more money by waiting. They also realize that their life expectancy, they have bad health issues, they don't expect to maybe live that long, or they worry about it, and they realize that $1 today isn't worth more tomorrow. So get your money. And also, since I made those videos and they received millions of views, between my convincing people that that's what they should do, in my opinion, and then the people that watched those videos that agreed with it, told their friends and relatives about it, it's grown exponentially. So now today, these new statistics have come out that the Social Security Administration is already seeing about, I don't know, 300,000 claims for Social Security this year. And they expect, if the trend continues, that up to or more than 500,000 people are going to be collecting Social Security this year, filing for claims. In addition to the 3-4 million people every year that file. We have, I got my numbers here. Hang on a minute. Okay, so here it is. At 62, you receive 70% of your full retirement age check. Whatever your check would be, at 62, you get 30% less. If you wait till you're 63 another year, you get 75% of what your total check would be. 64, 80%. So 5%, 5%, 5% more for 3 years after 62. Then at 65, when you're eligible for Medicare, you get 86.7%, another 6.7% more than the 5% each year they were giving you. So now you're up to 86.7%, and you also start losing, if you don't take a plan like I have, you will lose money, almost $200 from your Social Security, because you must elect to take Medicare at 65 unless you have a group policy that has more than, I think it's 15 people and you're full-time. And there's another thing, if you're with the railroad, there's a couple little exclusions, but most people must select Medicare at 65 years old. And there is a free plan, but you still have to pay Part B. And then some people elect to pay, for another plan, but that's not this video about Medicare. So now at 66, you get 93.3%. So now you're up to 23.3% more if you wait till you're 66. And then at 67, which is the full retirement age today, if you're born after 1960, your full retirement age is 67 years old. At that point, you would receive 100% if you wait of your full retirement amount you would be eligible to collect based on your best 35 years of earnings. Currently, after you make $168,600, you no longer contribute taxes into the Social Security Administration. And because we have, I have the numbers here, so many people collecting that are over the age of 65 now, and since the pandemic, you've got a lot less people working, paying into the system. We've all heard about the system running out of money or coming up short or whatever these scare tactics are, which will never happen because all they have to do is raise the $168,600 that high income earners will continue to pay taxes into it. They can raise the taxes and they can do a lot of other things to keep the Social Security fund where no one ever even considers seeing any kind of reduction in their check. And people throw around a number of 20%. It's actually 17. But 40,000 more people in May than May of last year filed for Social Security. In January 25, 409,867 people, an additional 110,000 people from 2024, year over year. And more high income earners are filing. And this was like the opposite of what I was talking about earlier in the video. That if you're making a lot of money and you have a lot of assets and you're depending on all that, why take it, right? Let it just sit there and take the additional 30% one day, but meanwhile lose 100% of what you could have been collecting for 5 to 7 years that people can even wait. From 62, they can wait till 70, they can wait till 8 years. But if they waited till 67, that's 5 years of checks they never collect. And you could die. And who gets that money? All them taxes you paid in. Your family, nobody gets it. Unless you're married, and then your spouse can collect on you if you, that's another video too. Spousal Social Security. The average age is 75.8, 81 for a female. The ladies are still living longer. And let's say that your reduced amount is $1,500 at 62 years old. That's 30% less than what it would be at 67, full retirement age. Okay? You would get $1,500. Okay? If you wait till 63, you get another $75 by waiting another year. If you wait till 64 and you get that 80% of it, which is now another 5%, you get $150 more in your check by waiting 2 more years, $150. That will be worth what? In 2 more years, the way inflation is, right? And then if you wait till you're 65, that big bump you get because you go into Medicare age and they're going to take that out of your Social Security, they actually give you $250 more because you're getting 86.7%. And then if you wait till 66, you actually get $349.50 more on your Social Security check than you would at age 62. And then at 67, the full retirement age, when you get 100% of what it would have been, that's $450 more. And so that's basing $1,500 plus 30% is $1,950. So then when you calculate, which I have done already, $1,500 at 62 years old for 60 months, you collect $90K. And in 156 months, which is, that was going to be 67. No. I made it 156 months to go to the average age where you die. What is 12 into 156? I didn't write the number down. So I calculated you would collect $234,000 in 156 months. So if there's 60 in 5, there's 120 in 10. So yes, it was to the age of 75. At 75, you'd have collected $234,000 if you started at 62. If you get the $1,750 a month by waiting until you're 65 years old, 5 years later, and get the $250 more, right? Because at 65, yes, it's $250 more. Big deal. Okay, you would get $210,000 by the time you're 75. You're still lower. You collected $234,000 from 62. You wait 5 years, you lose the $90K or whatever it is, and then you end up collecting $210,000 to 75 years old. That's $25,000 almost less. Then let's go out to age 67, full retirement age. You get 100% of your check. and you only got 96 months to collect before 75 years old. You only get $187,000 by waiting till your full retirement age to get the big $450 more, and then collecting it till the average age of 75. You collect $187,000. You're still way behind the $234,000 that I'm going to have if I live to 75. And you're going to have to continue to live several more years to surpass that, because that's quite a bit less. 145 to 234, that's 90,000. That's another 5 years. You got to go to 80 years old, don't you see? And then at 70, they've got this thing where you get this 8% each year from 67 to 70. Some people do it. Most people don't. That would be a $2,418 check every month. And for 60 months, 5 years, to take you to 75 years old, you will collect $145,000 only. All these numbers, 145,000, 187,000, 210,000, versus collecting at 62 to 75 and collecting $234,000. Okay? It's a smaller check, but you collect more years. And you can still earn. You can earn quite a bit of money the very first year that you turn 62. Whatever your high-paying job is, you can collect all that money. It doesn't affect your Social Security on year one. Then, when you become full retirement age at 67, you can make all you want. And then the year that you actually are going to be full retirement age, you can make, like this year, like $56,000, $57,000. And every year that goes up. So that might be well over $60,000 in a few years. So you've only got a short window there. And guess what? If you exceed the allotted amount you're allowed to make with your Social Security, you don't lose it. They get it back. They take you $1 back for every $2 you earn over the earnings limit. And then when you become 67, your full retirement age, your Social Security check is recalculated. Your Social Security then is recalculated. And you get a new Social Security check, and you get that money back that they withheld from you because you worked. But you made extra money. So, but the thing is, Social Security, everybody's getting it. When you used to turn on YouTube, there was all these people about, don't collect it, you're going to get a reduced amount. And now you put it on YouTube, and what do you get? Get it at 62. Get it at 62. That's all they're saying today. Very few, especially with the life expectancy in the U.S., agree. And they also know that $1 a day is worth more now than it will be tomorrow. And that calculating having all those assets and things, even if you're a high income earner, doesn't come into effect either. So get the debt paid off, get you a side hustle. If you want to work anyway, why not work half as much? If you say, no, I don't want to collect it, I want to wait for that $450 or that extra $250. Well, then collect your Social Security and only work a little bit and make the difference, and it's the same thing. Don't you understand that? Yes, you understand it. Everybody gets it. That's why they're collecting at 62. That's why I have no regrets of what I've done. And I've kept myself healthy, without having to go to a job 5 days a week, or even up to 6 or 7, some people have to work. I have time to go to the gym, to walk and get exercise. I've started eating right. And I hope to have my life expectancy go out even longer. At least while I'm here, I'm not all hunched over with an oxygen tank, sitting in a chair drinking Geritol. I have, my legs and my ability to move around and do what I want to do. And I'm enjoying my life. In the meantime, every month, like clockwork, I get a deposit in my bank account. And I also get a deposit from YouTube. But if I didn't have YouTube, I'd be doing something. I'd work for Aldi, stocking shelves. I would be working at a golf course, handing out golf carts. I'd do whatever I had to do, to work 20, 25 hours a week doing something that I want to do. Maybe it is a trade you've always done in your whole life that you can go to work for yourself And you can make yourself a couple of grand a month with your Social Security like falling out of bed, only working a few hours a day or a week, depending on how lucrative of a business you have. And keep in mind, the income that you make, if you are self-employed, your income is not like a W-2. You can make a lot more money than a W-2 person, because when you file your taxes, it's based on your AGI, your adjusted gross income. So that can be a help for you too, and that little window where you have to watch your income while collecting Social Security. But hey, if you're not feeding a gas tank or a lunch place or a dry cleaner, or dealing with the aggravation of a job, or you have a laborious job, you're breaking down your back, you're building houses, you're doing all this stuff, you're out in the sun, you're aging from 62 to 65 for a few $100s. I say, pick up a side hustle, get that $1,700, $1,800 a month like I got. And I wasn't a big earner. That's what I got based on the best 35 years of my working. And that's about the average, what people get. Some people might get a little more. A lot of people get a lot less. They never worked or filed taxes, or they weren't high income earners ever. And so, that could be a challenge. So, but you can still earn almost 25 grand a year every year, even during the period that you're limited on your income. Now, what did I forget here in the notes that I wanted to share with you? We talked about what you're going to get, which is more money. 500,000 people this year are predicted to claim Social Security and file. And the 500,000, 350,000 in May, January. Yeah. I got it all. And due to health concerns, if you have invest to get money, most consider this to, yeah. I explained it all. And nobody, not one of us, is promised tomorrow. When you see a $10 bill on the ground and you walk by, you don't let it lay there. You pick it up. You don't walk by and say, maybe tomorrow it'll be a 20 there. No. Get your money, live your life, enjoy your freedom, get your side hustle of your choice, work the evenings, the nights, the weekends only, whatever it is that you want to do, and start crushing it.